You really think they're obsessed with you because you're kind, don't you? Because you say, please, thank you, and sprinkle little smiles over every interaction like breadcrumbs for pigeons. That's cute. That's harmless. That's boring. People don't become obsessed with boring. They tolerate it. They use it. They forget it. Obsession lives somewhere else. It lives where people feel unsafe, uncertain, unable to predict what you'll do next. That's where you've started living, whether you meant to or not. They're not glued to you because you're nice. They're glued to you because you're unpredictable. You can feel it. The way they watch your eyes a little too careful. The way they check your tone, your timing, your silence. The way they replay your last message and wonder, what did they really mean by that? They stay awake, scrolling, stalking, decoding. Not because you're gentle, but because you're dangerous in a way you don't even understand yet. Let's be honest. Niceness is a product, predictable, packaged, mass-produced. You follow the rules. You smile on schedule. You answer on time. You agree when you're supposed to. That gets you politeness, not obsession. Obsession needs chaos. Obsession needs tension. Obsession needs the possibility that at any moment you could say or do something that changes the entire script. You think you want people to like you. No, you want them to orbit. You want them thinking about you when you're gone. You want them explaining you to their friends. You want them checking your status, your feed, your last scene. You want that little knot in their stomach when you don't respond. That isn't kindness at work. That's power. And power never looks polite up close. The moment someone can predict you, they stop fearing you. And when they stop fearing you, they put you in a box, label it safe, and stuff it in the back of their mental basement. You become furniture. You're there when needed, ignored when not, reliable, stable, comforting, pathetic. People don't chase comfort. They sink into it. They chase disturbance. They chase the one thing they can't quite map out. You know why the quiet one suddenly gets attention when they snap? Because everyone thought they understood the script. Calm, agreeable, pleasant. Then one day, something cracks, a sharp answer, a cold stare, a sudden boundary. People panic. Where did that come from? Now you're interested. Now you're a problem. And problems get more attention than people who are always fine. You've been trained your whole life to be predictable. Parents, teachers, managers, algorithms, they want you trackable, measurable, forecastable. You follow the pattern, you get the reward, likes, approval, a pat on the head. But underneath that training is something much more volatile. The part of you capable of saying no. The part capable of walking away, breaking rhythm, refusing the script. That's the part that keeps them up at night. They're obsessed with you because they don't know what you'll do if they push too far. Will you cry? Will you stay? Will you disappear? Will you expose them? Will you stop playing nice and start playing real? That uncertainty is the hook in their brain. Niceness without unpredictability is decoration. Unpredictability without any control is a mess. But mix a little restraint with the possibility of explosion and now you're addicted. Let's talk about relationships, since that's where most of the obsession fest have seen it. The partner who is always available, always forgiving, always compromising. Easy to love, easy to hurt, easy to replace. Then there's the one who seems warm one moment and ice cold the next. The one who doesn't answer immediately. The one who says, I don't like that, and actually means it. The one who can leave. That's the one who gets into their head. You've been told consistency is attractive. That's not entirely true. Consistency is attractive for stability, but instability is attractive for intensity. People say they want healthy, and then they chase the person who makes them feel insane. Why? Because predictability calms the nervous system, but unpredictability hijacks. And humans are addicted to whatever hijacks them, even if they swear they hate it. You know how social media works. It's the same principle. If your feed showed you the same thing every day, you'd uninstall the app. It's the intermittent, unexpected hit that keeps you scrolling. Not every post, just the right one at the right time. That message you didn't expect. That reaction you didn't see coming. That moment where someone shows you a side you didn't know existed. People become obsessed with the variable reward, not the scheduled. That's what you've become, a variable reward. Sometimes you answer, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're soft, sometimes you're sharp, sometimes you go along, sometimes you pull away. They can't find the pattern. They think there must be one, so they search harder. They watch closer. They obsess. Of course, you probably don't admit that you like this. You pretend you hate when they keep checking on you. You pretend you're tired of them asking, "Are you mad at me?" You pretend you just want peace. Listen, if you really wanted peace, you know how to get it. You'd smooth the edges. You'd give predictable answers. You'd respond the same way every time. You don't, because some twisted part of you likes the control. You learned early that being good didn't protect you. You were polite and still ignored, kind and still mistreated, loyal and still abandoned. So now you're experimenting, you're tilting the board, you're late on purpose, you cancel, you disappear, you refuse to explain. And suddenly, the same people who never prioritized you are sending double texts, writing long paragraphs, asking if everything is okay between us. Look how fast their morals slide when they fear losing access to. Suddenly they're apologizing for things they never admitted before. Suddenly they want to communicate better. Suddenly they respect your boundaries that they stepped on for years. What changed? You stopped being predictable. You stopped offering guaranteed access. You stopped playing nice as a survival strategy and started using unpredictability as a weapon. The funny part is they call you toxic for it. They'll say you're confusing, hot and cold, difficult to read. They'll accuse you of playing game. But let's be clear, they loved the game when they were winning, when your predictability meant their comfort, when your compliance meant their convenience. Now that you're not an obedient little script, you're the villain. Convenient label, classic deflection. People hate what they can't control, but they can't stop staring at it. That's why they're obsessed. Not because you're kind, not because you're different in a wholesome way. They're obsessed because some days you answer like a therapist and other days like an executioner. They never know if they're about to be comforted or cut off. That tension turns their brain into a casino machine they swear they'll never play again after just one more spin. Let's talk about fear. Not the dramatic kind, the private kind. The fear that you will wake up one day and decide they're no longer worth your time. No fight, no closure. Just distance, slowly, then suddenly. That fear turns normal people into investigators. They start reading between lines that don't exist. They ask friends for advice. They overanalyze your every word, then pretend they're over you. Fear is a better leash than love. Love is cooperative. Love asks, fear assume. Fear imagine. Fear anticipates worst-case outcomes and tries to prevent them. You've become their worst-case scenario, losing access to you without a clear reason, so they overcompensate. They offer more, promise more, confess more, not out of growth, out of panic. Here's the punchline: you don't even have to be that extreme. You don't need to scream, block, or ghost everyone. You just need one simple thing: the genuine willingness to walk away. The moment they realize you could leave and your life would go on, their grip tightened. Your unpredictability isn't about mood swings. It's about options. You act differently because you have options now. They can feel it. They hate it. They crave it. Society tells you to be stable while feeding off your instability. Look around: brands, news, influencers. They all poke at your emotions, trigger reactions, then preach calmness and balance. Hypocritical, isn't it? You're punished for being too much, while they profit from provoking you. But when you become the one who can provoke emotion in others without losing control yourself, you stop being a consumer and become a disruptor. They don't obsess over your kindness. They obsess over your ability to disrupt their sense of control. Think about that friend who always says, "Text me when you get home," and you forget, and they panic. Do they panic because you're wonderful? No, they panic because your silence opens too many doors in their mind. Are they mad? Are they hurt? Did I say something wrong? You became the trigger for their internal chaos, and they keep coming back to you, hoping for reassurance, for pattern, for stability that you never fully give. Let's go deeper. Identity. Most people don't actually know who they are. They borrow pieces. A little from trends, a little from parents, a little from whoever they're trying to impress this month. They construct a safe, coherent story and stick to it because the alternative scares them. You, however, are a walking glitch in that story. Some days you match it, some days you tear it apart. You remind them how fragile their identity is. They label you unpredictable because you refuse to stay in the version of you that benefits them most. When you're agreeable, you're sweet. When you're distant, you're cold. When you're assertive, you're selfish. That's not analysis. That's control dressed up as concern. They want a consistent product, not a human being. And when you stop acting like a product, their whole fake sense of stability starts to shake. You know what unsettles people the most? Quiet unpredictability. Not the dramatic meltdown, not the public scene. The small shift, the delayed reply, the one-word answer where there used to be paragraphs, the way you stop laughing at their jokes, the way you stop saving them from awkward silence. They feel the withdrawal, but they can't pin it down. They start chasing. They start obsessing. They want the version of you they trained, not the one you actually are. Let's be clear. You are not obligated to be legible to people who never bothered to understand you, but they will still demand it. They will ask, what changed? As if the answer isn't obvious. They changed. You changed. Reality changed. The whole dynamic evolved. Only their expectations stayed frozen in time. They're obsessed now because they're not just trying to get you back. They're trying to get back the version of themselves they felt like when you were predictable. Control is the real addiction here. Your unpredictability threatens their control over their own narrative. When you don't react how they expect, they feel exposed. It forces them to see that they are not as charming, not as important, not as irreplaceable as they believe. That's the wound, not you. You're just the mirror that refuses to reflect the flattering angle and let's not pretend you're innocent in it. You've noticed the effect. You've seen how a little withdrawal makes them frantic, how a slow reply suddenly upgrades their effort, how one boundary suddenly unlocks a flood of respect that should have been there from the start. You understand the game now. You might even enjoy it. Not because you're cruel, but because for once you're not the one begging. You used to be predictable out of fear. Now you're unpredictable out of self-preservation. You learned that always explaining yourself never actually protected you. People still twisted your words. They still left when it benefited them. So you stopped narrating your every move. You let your silence speak. You let your absence explain. You let your inconsistency send a message. You don't own access to me, no matter what story you've built in your head. They call this mixed signal. You call it having a life that doesn't revolve around their expectation. Mixed signals only bother people who believe they are entitled to a clear, consistent performance from you. They think emotional access is a subscription with guaranteed delivery. When you treat it like a limited, unstable connection, they panic. They don't want partnership. They want predictability dressed up as loyalty. Let's talk about chaos, not random, mindless chaos, controlled chaos. You don't explode at every slight. You don't argue with every accusation. You don't justify every distance. That restraint makes your unpredictability even more unnerving, because when you finally do react, they know it wasn't impulsive. It was a decision, and decisions, unlike impulses, are hard to reverse. People are obsessed with you because your reactions are no longer automatic. Most people react on script, get guilt, tripped, apologize, get ignored, chase, get insulted, explain. You broke that pattern. Someone guilt trips you, you go silent. Someone ignores you, you forget them. Someone insults you, you laugh. Now they're lost. Their usual tools don't work, so they push harder, watch closer, obsess more. They don't want you. They want their old level of control over you. They miss the version of you that replied instantly, forgave immediately, and always assumed the best. That version was easy to manage, easy to manipulate, easy to predict. This new version, you're polite but not pliable, present but not available on demand, warm but not harmless. They don't know where they stand, and that uncertainty gnaws at them. Look closely at who calls you unstable. It's always the ones who depended on your stability as their safety net. The friend who dumped all their problems on you and now complains that you're distant when you stop answering at 3 a.m. The partner who treated you like a backup plan and now cries that you're heartless when you stop waiting. The family member who assumed you'd always pick up and now says you're cold when you don't. Your unpredictability is just their loss of guaranteed access. You didn't become cruel. You became inconsistent in their favor. Some days you still show up. Some days you don't. That inconsistency reminds them that your presence is not a given. That makes them scared. That fear turns into obsession. They start trying to earn what they once took for granted. Now here's the dark little secret. You're not actually that unpredictable. You have reasons, patterns, logic, internal rules. You know exactly why you replied fast to one person and late to another. Why you said yes today and no yesterday. But those rules are private now. You don't hand out manuals anymore. You let people sit in their confusion. You let them wonder. You let them feel the cost of not paying attention earlier. The more private your logic, the more public their obsession. Because now they need to study you. They analyze your timing, your emojis, your silence. They treat you like a code to crack. They say they just care about you, but watch closely. They care about access. They care about predictability. They care about getting back to the comfort of knowing exactly how you'll respond. You broke their illusion that you're simple. That's why they talk about you so much. Why they bring you up in conversations you're not in. Why they stalk your updates while pretending they've moved on. They're trying to reduce you back to a simple story. They're just crazy. They're just damaged. They're just playing games. Anything is easier than admitting you woke up to the manipulation before they did. Here's the part no one wants to hear. You train them to underestimate. You train them by over-explaining, over-giving, overstaying. You made it easy for them to assume you'd never change. So when you finally did, it felt like betrayal. Not because you did something wrong, but because you broke the image they built of you in their head. They're obsessed with fixing that broken image, not with understanding the real you. You don't owe them consistency with the frightened version of you. That version was a tool they enjoyed, not a person they respected. It did the scripts, took the blame, cleaned the mess, smiled on cue. You retired it quietly. Now they finally meet the version that keeps score, withholds access, and lets consequences breathe. Not heroic, not healing, just fair in a way they were hoping you'd never discover. You owe nothing to the audience that applauded while you tore yourself apart to keep the show running. If they miss the performance, they can buy a ticket somewhere else. You're not reopening on demand just because they suddenly realize the theater is empty without you. So yes, they're obsessed. Of course they are. You're the crash they can't look away from. But you're also the reminder that they could change too, if they weren't so terrified of losing their own predictability. They'd rather call you unstable than admit they're stagnant. They'd rather diagnose you than examine themselves. And you don't need their approval, analysis, or understanding. You've seen behind the curtain. You know that nice was just the costume they liked you in. You took it off. You didn't replace it with cruelty. You replaced it with uncertainty for them, not for you. You know exactly what you're doing. You're just not handing out advance notice anymore. They're obsessed with you not because you're nice, but because you finally became the one thing they can't file, fix, or forecast. You became the unanswered question in their carefully scripted life, and nothing haunts people more than a question that might never get a clear, predictable answer. You notice it at work too, don't you? The boss calls you reliable. When you stay late, repeat the same tasks, not at the same nonsense. The second you stop volunteering, stop smiling in meetings, stop pretending every new demand is no problem, their tone changes. You become difficult, uncooperative, not like you used to be. Translation, you stopped being predictable labor. Now you're a risk, and risks get meetings, whispers, attention. In families, it's even uglier. The moment you stop reacting on cue to guilt, tradition, and emotional blackmail, you're labeled, changed, ungrateful, distant. You used to answer every call. You used to agree to every plan. You used to explain yourself after every misunderstanding. Then you stopped. Suddenly, everyone is holding secret conferences about you. They don't gather like that for the quiet, predictable sibling. They gather for the one who might walk away. You turned into the experiment they can't control. Every time you break your old pattern, you're testing the system. What happens if I don't reply? What happens if I say no? What happens if I don't fix this for them? The results are always the same: outrage, anxiety, obsession. People who never analyze their own behavior suddenly become amateur psychologists, but only about you. They won't go to therapy, but they'll write essays in their head about your issue. Here's the moral gray area you pretend not to see. You know you could ease their anxiety with a simple message, a quick reassurance, a soft explanation. You don't, not always. Sometimes you let them sit in the tension they dumped on you for years. Is that cruel? Maybe. Is it educational? Absolutely. People learn fast when access is revoked. They just don't like learning from someone they thought would always be available for free. You're not a hero in this story. You're not a villain either. You're just done letting everyone else be the only ones playing power game. They made schedules out of your kindness. They treated your predictability as a service. Now you're charging a fee on certainty. You don't send invoices. You let their overthinking pay the debt. If that sounds harsh, remember who trained you to think love meant constant, predictable self-erasure. There's a cost to being unpredictable, of course. You scare people who only know love as routine. You confuse people who need a script to feel safe. You threaten people who built their identity on managing others. You might even lose a few who can't handle not being in control. Good. If someone needs you to be emotionally programmable to stay, they're not there for you. They're there for the control panel. They don't want to understand you. They want to predict you. Understanding requires work, listening, patience. Prediction just needs patterns. They're not obsessed with your depth. They're obsessed with your variability. They want the old instruction manual back, the one where being nice, scared, and compliant made you easy to read. You burned that manual. You didn't write a new one. You keep it all upstairs now, locked where they can't reach. Human beings are loyal to their comfort, not their values. Ask them what they believe and they'll give you speeches about respect and communication. Then watch what happens when someone like you stops answering politely. Their values vanish. Their comfort screams. Suddenly, you're disrespectful for not responding on their timeline. Suddenly, communication means tell me what you feel, but only if it reassures me. You stop doing that. That's why they can't drop you. You discovered something they hope you never put into words. Attention doesn't follow goodness. Attention follows impact. You started to have impact the moment you stopped acting like a stable appliance in their life. You became a glitch, a delay, a sudden shutdown. And even when they rant about you, block you, or swear they're done, they carry you around in their head like unfinished business. That's not grace, that's gravity.